bring in Martin Anderson Klutz, a senior solutions engineer at Acquia and maintainer of a number of modules of his own, to tell us about the module of the week. Martin, what do you have for us this week?
Thanks, John. I thought this week we would talk about a module that actually I find tremendously useful in my own community contributions, which is Devel Debug Log, which allows developers to inspect the contents of variables. And if those are classes, you can also do things like dig into nested properties and all of the methods that are available. So it's a module that was created in August of 2011. It currently has 2.0.1 and 8.x-1.2 versions available, both released earlier this year to be ready for Drupal 10. Has seen multiple releases in recent months, particularly those last two that we talked about. Actually has very few issues open for the number of sites that are using it, which is currently 2,267. Although in truth, about 2/3 of those are actually using the D7 version. So the Devel Debug module differs from some of the other solutions that people might use in this space, in the sense of sort of the standard Devel module or even Xdebug, in the sense that it actually pushes the output into more of a log. So similar to Watchdog, that is saved until you actually clear the log. And so that allows you to keep that as a reference while you continue to work on a certain piece of code. It does rely on the Devel module to create that formatted debugging output, as well as the Devel Kint Extras module to sort of get all of those extra methods for your classes. And I'll just point out here that although some of the modern Drupal development tooling has made it easier than ever to set up Xdebug, so think about like DDev or Lando or even Cloud IDEs. To me, Devel Debug Log is just very fast and easy to set up and can be sort of a useful addition to a developer's debugging tool set. So maybe we'll open up to some discussion. Does anybody else use Devel Debug Log, or what are some of the other tools that everybody's using these days for debugging?
I actually have a question to start, because you said the usage statistics, 2,267 sites are using it. 2 out of 3 of them appear to be Drupal 7. And maybe you guys can educate me as to this is like a non-production module, right? So should probably be used in dev local instances. So is that usage stat saying people are just not shutting it off and using it in production, or are there locals and development sites phoning home and providing those stats?
The local dev sites. So when you install standard install, the update module, I think the update module is enabled on the standard install. Yep. And that's the scenario. People are just
got it. Okay. Because I was shocked that many sites would be using this and reporting back, because
I also wouldn't be surprised. Anyway. I also wouldn't be surprised that people are just leaving it on production too.
Sad.
People do. I mean, yeah. I don't, and config split makes it really easy to disable that kind of thing, but people do leave stuff like that on production all the time.
I was going to go into, I don't know about this module, but I use Devel's DPM and DSM, and those are maybe the old DSM, I think is the old one, to just display things on screen. I'm one of those old school that I find that a lot faster than Xdebug sometimes, to just capture something and move on. And the problem I run with Xdebug is the performance hit you could take if you're running a lot of automated tests. It can be really frustrating. I'm old. I just started out using JavaScript before there were any debugging tools, so I got used to printing messages a lot. That was the only way you could do it.
Yeah, I mentioned this to Martin when he mentioned that this was going to be the module of the week this week. I stopped using Devel maybe about a year ago, when I think when I switched to DDev, it made Xdebug just so much easier that I switched to using that. If I need to display something really quick and I don't feel like turning on Xdebug, I'll just do a print R. And if I'm doing something where I need to look at something more than once, right, and it's not just a simple flat value, then I just turn on Xdebug. But Devel, I mean, I used it for years and years and years.
Yeah, to me, the big advantage this module has over sort of standard Devel is if you're troubleshooting something that fires kind of asynchronously. That sometimes that can be tricky to get on screen, whereas this thing, you get it in the log and then you can just go in and sort of debug the value.
Ooh, that sounds
That's a
really
good point.
valuable.
Yeah.
The thing that I ran into with Devel that started making it less helpful for me, and that it might just be a settings thing, to be honest, is that once Kint was split out, I found that like limiting the levels didn't always work, and so it just would fail to load. I just get white screens all the time, or a page would just take forever to load because it's loading a class that has 10,000 methods on it or something, and it just just became a little less useful. But getting that into the logs might be useful enough that it's worth picking back up just for this.
So on that note, there is kind of a snippet you can put into your settings.php to sort of limit the max Kint depth to 4 or 5 or whatever you need, which can definitely help to reduce those kinds of white screen errors.
Awesome. Well, Martin, as always, thanks for a great module, and on to our primary topic.